Wait for it. We're live. Patrick,
Yes.
what is going on, buddy?
Amazing. How are you, man?
Dude, I am doing well. How are you feeling?
Um, awesome. Awesome. I mean, I had a shitty start in the week with this thing called what is it? Lumbago. I don't know how to say it in English.
I'm gonna go with
It hurts.
lumbargo.
It really hurts. So my back was killing me the whole week. But
Well, we're
yeah,
happy that you're
it's
feeling
better
better
now.
and that you are with us. And we've already got a few folks in the chat. We got Oleg and Vlad complimenting the beautiful thumbnail that we were able to use, courtesy of Tanya. And you know, an amazing photograph. But Vlad, Oleg, good to see you guys. Johan, Matthias, Chops, he's here. Yeah, buddy.
Oh, the
Good things
man.
for those who wait, bud. Good things for those who wait. And folks, Chop has agreed, I should announce now, Monday, upcoming live wrong effing question. So tune in Monday for that. And give me and Chop some ideas. I don't think we either of us have a plan for what we're going to talk about. So let us know if you have a
Oh,
question
Eugene
we
is
should
also
talk.
there.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people.
Folks, so happy to have you here. Happy, what is it, Thursday?
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers to you, Patrick. Cheers to everyone in the audience.
Cheers.
Eugene, what's going on? Alessia, Demetris.
Oh, Dimitris. Yeah.
Yeah,
Also
Milan's
great
here.
guy. Yeah.
Olika is here, and Michaela is here. Guys, so good to see all of you. Daniel, what's going on?
Oh,
Today
Ollie.
we have Patrick's image. Do yeah. From
Yes.
We have Patrick from this was what, like three competitions ago? Two
I
competitions
think
ago with
it
Fabio?
was competition number two,
Yeah.
where I was crying afterwards because I I didn't make it to the top 20, so I thought I might give it to Mike to teach me some post.
And I am excited because I was actually a judge for this competition, and it was a really, really hard one to judge. They've all been pretty hard to judge, the ones that I've done. The thing that's so tough about them is you kind of know who did all of them, so you have your buddies and everything else, but then you sit and you look at them all, and there've been so many amazing entries that you gotta be like really kind of hardline. And this image made it to my final selection and just didn't quite make it into the top. And I said, Patrick, I think you could have done 20 more minutes more of post. And you said, more of post? What post?
Yeah, this is my raw render actually.
Yeah.
I did some levels, yes, but I wouldn't count it as post. So
Yes, I think that's just, basic color correction. And so, yeah, so we're going to go and I'm going to kind of go through my post process, which isn't entirely different from the process that I've been using with painting and paintovers, but is done not sloppily, hopefully. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so right now we're looking at the image basically as rendered by you, Patrick. Ooh.
man, can you please show that glove? It looks kind of disgusting, man.
Dude, it's terrible. It's so bad. It's so absolutely
You're
awful.
looking like a pervert.
I think Michael Jackson kind of ruined this look for everybody. But if my hand sticks on here, it drives me bonkers, absolutely bonkers. So this is the fashion statement, baby.
The way
Can't
to
get
go,
enough
man.
of that.
Try some rubber gloves.
That would help the situation. It would be stickier, and God knows what a dude's doing in Photoshop where it requires latex gloves. Okay, so
Yes.
the only thing that I've done, so I haven't done like any prep work in the sense of I've not tried to edit this yet because I think that part of the post-production process is figuring it out. So I'm sure I'm going to do some things that are wrong, but that's part of my process. The only thing that I've done to kind of prepare for this is you sent me your scene and I just quickly rendered out a handful of elements to help with post-production. So we have two multi-mats to give just quick selections of things I might want to adjust. I always just add a materials and a objects ones. I don't set them up, but you never know if you're going to need them or not, and they're pretty much free. I don't know if we're going to use normals or not, but I rendered them out. And then I have a couple of depth masks. One that's like the whole scene, which makes the whole front black and white, and then another one which has kind of just the depth of the foreground. Um, and so we'll be using at least some of those as we work through it. When I looked at this image, the first thing that I kind of saw, or that like stuck into my mind, is that we have like kind of some conflicting lighting going on.
This is
We
the first thing I count as an insult. So
do we need a counter for Mike insults his buddy Patrick today? um, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be straight with you.
yeah, that's what I wanted. This is
So
go
we
for it, man.
so here's going to be my goal basically in post production from looking at this is that we have this like super cool story of this rendering, right? And we have, like the little kids playing with the Mac. Obviously, they've been playing with nuclear bombs and the Mac. And we have all this kind of like, we got the bikes, and there's a really fun story going here. But when I zoom back at it, I'm kind of like really, my eye is really drawn to these hard lines that we have along the tree and along kind of this tree edge, right? And we have like some conflicting lighting on our character here, right? So we have a bright sky. We have the trees in the distance are really dark, so like they don't really have any ambient light on them. And then this girl has some ambient light on her back. And so effectively what I'm going to try and do, at least the way I'm going to start, and we'll see how it progresses, is I want to make this read a little bit more. Right? So like we can see her silhouette nice and clear here, along with like the tree and then or the antenna that we have going on. And because of, I think, mostly like the blacks and the lack of like an atmospheric perspective in it, those get lost a little bit, right? If we go in and we sample, the blacks of her hair are pretty close to the black values of the trees behind her. So I'm going to first kind of try and start to sort that out, because that's the first thing that jumps most into my head. And then we'll see what comes next. I have a general kind of post-production philosophy of fix first like the most obvious thing for yourself, and then once that feels like it's fixed, fix the next most obvious thing. So kind of trying to always pick out the biggest things that you want to adjust and doing them. That's basically my process. So it kind of changes every time. Does that make sense?
I don't believe what you're saying, but show me.
Okay, so we have to prove it. I love that. And so I think what we're going to do, and I kind of have to be a little mindful of where our pictures are. So okay, so there we can see the whole image. I feel like I need like a guideline on my screen. That's okay. So I'm going to go out, and so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it with like the dusk lighting. And so I want to darken the sky first so that we're reducing the contrast in all of... Reducing the contrast...
Very bad idea.
Very bad. So the real test of how successful I do today, I think, is going to be whether or not you like whatever I end up with more or less than where we started from.
I guess less, but go for it.
You're betting on less. So I'm just going to see what I can find for some skies here. Question for you, Patrick. This one you did basically no post on.
No. I mean I'm always I'm never doing posts, so yes.
Really? So like by and large you generally do zero post.
Yes. I mean, sometimes Tanya is always yelling at me that I'm supposed to do more posts, but
I'm gonna guess that Chop is so very, very excited to hear you say that. Chop is another guy that's like as little post or no post as possible.
I like him.
He's all right, He knows a thing or two. I, on the other hand, am all about post. When I'm working on stuff, I cannot wait to get into post. 3D is just a means for me to get to post, generally speaking.
Oh, Chop is just writing, Patrick is an honored member of the Church of No Post. And yes.
So does that make?
Job was my guru in that.
I mean, he is all about no post, and there are a lot of advantages to working heavily in post, heavily in 3D and very little post. But I am not a member of that
It seems you
church.
can't find a proper sky in your library. Hmm?
I just have so little to go on here. I don't know what to do. Because I don't think we want any of these warm tones. I think we want to go just cool. And you know what we might do? We might paint in the sky. It's not impossible, but it's always nice to get some realistic colors. And I think we might actually go with a dark gradient. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
And let's make you nice and big. And then we got to make a mask for you. And you can save all of these into channels if you're going to do a lot of post. And the way that I do that is with a little script, which just goes bump, 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 and do it again. And then we have them all sitting here in channels. And if I load up all of them and do the opposite, we will have a sky mask. Where is our sky, though? That is the question. We don't need this anymore. Oh, dear Lord. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to throw all of that away. We're going to turn that on. We are going to make a group. We are going to pull this out of the group. You can see.
Yeah. Yes, that's it.
I think I'm done. I think
Okay, I have to admit this is way better than. Yeah.
It really focuses the eye on the on the giant mushroom cloud
of the explosion.
I love that Chop is in there just completely calling out what's going to happen next, and he is not wrong. So we're going to pull that out of that group. We're going to pull this into that group. We are going to invert this. And here's how we're going to fix the fringing. Let's see why it's fringing, and we are just going to go like this. Control, and we're just leveling the actual mask. Dun, dun, dun. And we'll clean that up later. This is always going to be an issue because we had some transparency in there, but we're going to ignore it for a moment, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to go in, and I think I want this thing. I just want to get kind of like the colors where I sort of kind of want them. And now we're going to paint into this mask.
Mike, which program are you using there?
This is a post-production tool called Photoshop, if you'll believe it. And we are going to... how are we going to clean up these edges? Okay, so we're going to go a little bit into both directions, I believe. Which is to say, we're going to cheat. And then we're going to go into this mask. And I think what I want to do, I want to have that feather out. Ooh, I'm going to try something. And invert that. Oh, wait a second. Oh, Patrick. This is why you prepare for these things. So we have it nice and bright at the edges. We want to keep that brightness, which means that we don't want to paint this away. What we want to do is hide this. Okay. Mike, you are off to a rip-roaring start, buddy. You're killing this. Important part of your post-production process is to pep talk yourself. We're going to very kind of roughly paint away this really hard edge, and then we're going to fix it later. I'm going to paint that all the way out. I do have a plan. Patrick, how much doubt do you have in my post-production right now?
How much what? Sorry, your voice was lagging a bit.
How much doubt do you have in my post-production at the moment?
I don't have any doubt.
Oh, you should. You absolutely should.
As long as you're erasing the whole nuclear blast.
And we're just going to get rid of this part of the story. So for those of you that have been watching a lot of the painting, so you can see that this is like obviously a very ugly edge. But that is okay because we're also a darker sky than we need for it to be. But I do want to get this fixed. And so by painting this way, you can see how bad this edge is. And then when we tone back this kind of sky group, we're going to not lose as much of that edge. And pull this out. I didn't like that little idea that I had, so we're going to delete that. And we still need to kind of paint some things in, and we might still continue to darken that. But for right now, I'm going to leave that until later. So now at very least, what we have is we have some color and tonality in the sky, right? So as opposed to sitting at, let's see, how close to white? Sitting at pure white, we at least now have a color sitting in the sky, right?
Mike, can you move the canvas a bit to the
Oh,
right?
yes, I can. Thank you. What we can do so that I don't do that again. There we go. Work in windowed mode. That should do. So we can see all that again. I mean, I am just a tech wizard over here.
Yes, man.
Okay. All right, so we have our ugly sky sitting in here. We're going to grab this guy. And so just selecting it in channels. I'm not... Ask me if I do anything technically that needs to be explained, let me know, but I'm trying to think more on like the big picture of post-production and less on like here's how you do X in Photoshop.
No, it's cool. I mean, I'm able to handle Photoshop, so it's cool to see your workflow, man.
Right on. Oh, Photoshop, you need to get rid of these beeps. Folks, I'm sorry for the beeping. Chop, you are absolutely right on F-Storm not rendering VDBs, meaning that we get bad alphas, and it's really fucking annoying. Okay, so where were we? Oh my god.
By the way, everyone is asking Andre to implement VDB support in
I know,
F-Storm,
so wouldn't it be wonderful if he actually does?
I guess it's still a long way.
Okay, so we're gonna do a couple of things. First, okay, so we have this whole group in a this whole group has a mask that is just depth, and we're gonna lift it and we're gonna pull it down. And we are going to not affect the foreground just by leveling it. You see how we're starting to pull her silhouette out just a little bit? We're going to keep doing that over and over and over again. And this isn't looking in black and white right now. Just by print preview, wherever that is, view, proof colors. Because I'm just at the moment thinking about values. And we're going to go with the opposite. And what I'm going to try and do is get like a nice kind of clean separation between what's happening in our foreground and what's happening in our background, which we've
Can
probably
you
overdone.
explain a bit how you use the ZDEF maps?
Yeah. Um, as far as how to
Because
use them,
this is I used them once or twice, but this is a task where, do you know this kind of task? You do them once or twice a year, and you always, whenever you want to use that specific technique, you always have to rewatch a tutorial. Like, what the fuck? I did it for like 10 times in my life, but I always have to watch a new tutorial on that. This is
so
the same shit for me with Z or ZDev.
so if I was only allowed one render element, it would absolutely be depth. Um, and so we have something like this where obviously the closest stuff to the camera is black, the furthest stuff away is white. And if you isolate it so that you can see it, and you press Control and click on RGB, that loads the luminosity. And because it's black and white, it's only luminosity. So if I put a mask, oh dear Lord, where's my bottom screen? 1 second, folks. We need to move some things. Let's pull that up. Oh, and dear Photoshop, you are a prick. Okay. Nope. And something like that. Oh, but then our
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the reason why I'm doing no post, because
Yeah.
it's the windows in Photoshop are not docking properly, so I got rid of post.
I mean, who knows? By the time this is all through, it might be the same for me. Okay, so you guys can't see my little things. If we put a mask on this with that selection, the selection or the mask is the same as the depth layer, right? And so if we take and we load that selection, again, just by pressing Control, click on it, and we make like a hue saturation layer or any type of adjustment layer, it's going to bring that same selection in as a mask, right? And so now if we were to ignore all of the weird colors, because we've been editing in black and white, so if we make this like background like super blue, it's applying it at white, it's applying it 100%. At black, it's applying it not at all. And then gray is obviously the part in between, so that we can adjust things just as they move into the distance. Does that make sense? Is that a decent explanation?
Yes, I guess so. But I will watch a new tutorial next time I use it.
Like if I'm doing like
no,
if I'm doing
really, no.
if I'm doing a quick sketch for a client, I'll almost always still save a Z depth layer so that I can quickly just adjust the depth of the image. And one of the things I'm going to try one other thing. Instead of, because we're going to have to deal with these edges not having any alpha in them this entire time, I'm going to try and see. Let's see. This is the far Z depth mask. I'm going to see what happens here. So we can always level a mask, right? Which is just adjusting how much it's affecting things. We might end up having to use normals on this guy. And then this is the other thing I do a lot, which is I just grouped this singular layer and moved the mask up so that at a quick glance I can see what I'm doing with it. But then I can add another mask into here, which is going to allow me to either paint like a gradient, something like that, into this, and it's using both masks without completely messing them up, right? And we can also probably... I kind of like something in there. I want color in the sky, in the horizon. And I don't want these giant edges to be so apparent.
Let them disappear, please.
Disappear, sky, disappear. And we're going to bring back some of the contrast into this guy. Okay. Come on. Post-production. So, Patrick, this is all I got to teach you. Sorry, this is a mess.
No. Man, now you now you know how I felt when I was teaching you type flow.
Oh, we're gonna get there. One thing you just gotta have is the complete and utter faith that eventually you will get to where you're trying to get to. And then we're gonna move this underneath everything. There we go. I like that. And let's go and grab our massive cloud. So this is something that I should have thought a little bit about in retrospect. But you know, that kind of goes against the entire spirit of
Man, you're so deep in all of this layered masks and channels. That's really fast. For me, it's all this different masks and shit are honestly are the reason why I'm hating posts so much.
So
because I'm simply not able to organize all the layers and shit. I mean,
so
I do the first 5 layers or the first 10 layers are named properly, and you have the full overview. I color them, everything, and after layer 20, it's called layer copy layer version 2 layer copy.
So one of the things is that this only looks somewhat organized because Photoshop puts things into groups. I don't personally. There are people that keep their Photoshop files very, very neat. I am not one of those people. All I am going for is I'm just thinking of the next thing to do, right? So like I don't generally, when I have to re-Photoshop an image, I usually just kind of start from scratch. Is my general plan. And the thought that I'm having right now is, you know how a mushroom cloud you have the mushroom cloud going up and then you have the smoke coming out at the bottom?
Yes, sir.
We are going to see if I can't paint a little bit of that in, which we could go and try and find a reference image for.
I love it. Go for it, man. Yes.
Done. Oops. Painting into
no. I see what you're doing now. Okay.
And so if we really wanted to be like super pro at this, we could go in and spend a ton of time with this guy and actually find like real clouds that actually look kind of right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've all been in that internet search where you just sit and you kind of, paint and look for the right image and then try an image and then look for a different one. And then you just kind of go on and on and on and you never really find what you're looking for. And so all I'm going to try and do here is try to bring some of these colors from the cloud into the base here, and we'll adjust them all once we get a little bit further. But what the visual effect that I'm going to try and get done is soften this super duper hard edge that we have sitting right underneath of the cloud.
Super duper hard and beautiful edge. That's what you meant.
It's a beautiful edge. It's a little too hard.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's.
We don't really have a visual explanation as to why. This is so bright. Maybe I'm gonna keep thinking on that. But we're gonna go in. We're gonna soften some of these edges down, and maybe we'll paint in just a little bit of clouds. Some happy little clouds on the horizon.
Yes, I just wanted to say that.
And we can also kind of use like a textured brush here to fix our ugliness that I introduced.
By the way, Mike, this is not. I'm not farting here in my room. This is my DSR chair, and it's making weird noises. As you,
You know, I was not assuming that you were farting, but now I'm assuming that
okay,
you're
yeah,
just using that
but
as an
I
excuse.
had to say that because it might sound a bit weird, but I can reproduce it as every
At
time I
will.
want. So,
I mean, that is a skill that I think many a adolescent boy would love to have.
man, I like that. I like that clouds above the. No, yeah, this clouds in the tree part.
The goal that I'm going to try and kind of stick with through this is basically what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to control like basically where there's going to be contrast. With the main goal being we don't want to affect blue as the darkest. I'm going to explain what I was just doing. Anywhere where there's contrast, that's where your eye's going to go, right? And so I only want contrast in certain places. Is kind of the general mantra, right? That's like going through my head whenever I'm in post. Is am I drawing attention to things that I want to have attention drawn to them or not? And so we're kind of just faking right now a vignette. And I'm going to leave you to keep up on the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How do you when you're faking a vignette? How do you prevent? Is it called banking?
Banking. Banding.
What was ban? What is it called?
Banding? Did someone ask about
Yeah,
that?
this. Yeah. How do
it
you
de-
prevent that?
It depends on
Um,
how heavy and the colors that are happening. Let's see if we get some. It'll be easier to explain. Like right now, we don't really have any, and we're going to
Yeah.
add noise in at the very end. But generally, that's you have to introduce noise to remove banding, usually. Okay, so let's see. One of these is washing out just a little bit too much of the background, and that's that guy. And so we're going to go in with an eraser and like some kind of texture in it, and just kind of bring some of these back just a little bit. We're actually going to not do it that way. We're going
Don't
to do it.
erase the happy little trees, man.
I mean, you have an entire army of happy little trees in this image, which I couldn't be happy.
Ah, yes.
We're going to bring that back just a little bit so we're not losing too much. And I'm going to say that that's a little bit messy, but I think it's enough to move on for. Now we're going to go and we're going to adjust the foreground. I have a mental vision that's kind of starting to come together of what I want to do with this guy.
But did you just a question between? Did you what about the sky? So didn't it work properly like you wanted, or is it on hold?
I think I'm going to, so I got rid of the actual sky that I brought in, right? Because I don't want to deal with
Yeah. The
trying to get that edge to totally clean up. And so I'm just
because
gonna.
it's a subsurface scattered mesh, so it's
So I'm not done with the sky by any means right now. It's looking a mite bit sickly, let's call it. But I'm going to leave it for now because at least we don't have white there. And I think any adjustments that I do to it, I'm going to do just over top with brushes. I think. I'm not entirely sure yet.
Okay.
I'm still kind of thinking on it. But I'm going to adjust.
Can I also challenge you and ask you for things to put into the image?
It depends on what you ask for.
Okay. No.
What were you going to ask for?
I don't know yet.
If it doesn't involve a ton of searching for things, I'm all for it. So this is pulling down all of the brights right now, right? So that all of these things that have washed out completely to white, and that's one of the things that I in 3D generally try and really protect whenever I'm rendering things is the highlights, because it's easier to put stuff back into the shadows than to bring color back into the highlights. But I'm going to darken
Yes.
the whole top here, the whole image as a whole right now. And I'm going to lift the blacks up just a little bit. And I am going to so just grabbing, this is the depth layer that's just of the foreground stuff. Adding that guy back on, inverting him, and leveling it. And we've kind of gone to like a Photoshop-y coloring of this whole thing.
Oh, there's one question in the chat, Patrick. I would love to know what was your workflow for this 3D image, model software, and tool use. Just a brief. I used 3ds Max as always, my software of choice. I mean, at least for still images. Then I was simulating the smoke with Phoenix FD from Chaos Group. Meshed it all and rendered it in FStorm. And for the models and textures, I use quite a lot of different products. So, for example, Quixel, real displacement textures from Christoph Schindler. This is real displacement textures are the ones I love the most because they're fucking accurate. They're working. It's amazing. And what did I use else? I used some Max Tree trees because also the best trees out there in my opinion. Mike, do you use Max trees?
You know, I haven't actually gone and bought trees for a really long time. And actually, I'm working on a project right now that I don't have any trees that I want to. And so I'm not going to say, I know I have a few max trees, but they're pretty old. And that's going to be the first place I look, probably actually this afternoon. If that's your favorite trees, and these ones look great.
Yes, they're pretty good. I use Max trees, and sometimes for more specific trees, a lot of my friends are using GrowFX and model them by themselves. But yes, no.
Wait, no to what? Modeling them yourself?
I don't want to model a fucking tree. Sorry. I want to have a cool image, and I want to have the proper tree. And when I'm buying Max trees, they sell it in packages just for Max and GrowFX packages. The GrowFX packages are a bit more expensive.
Because that gives you like the whole GrowFX.
Yeah,
like
it gives you the whole algorithm, and you can just vary them however you like. You can create infinite different variations. So
have you played with GrowFX much?
Not as much as I wish I have, but yes, I tried it. I tried to simulate some ivy because you guys, I guess you guys all know the story of that ivy generator guy who just do you remember the ivy generator tool, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, well, I think I just see something on that they are coming back.
This is the new one. But the old ivy generator, I use it quite a while, and the guy was developing it. It's developed by one guy, and he gave it for free. And the story was that he had a little donation button. So when you're downloading the plugin, you can donate. Like everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one guy actually who donated 1 cent for his software.
Oh, yes, I remember this story now.
And was like, fuck you all.
Yep.
I'm going to put this thing down. if you are donating 1 cent, I'm gonna stop developing. He counted that as an insult. So would I. But yeah, that was the end of the Ivy generator plugin, and now there's a new Ivy generator based on another Ivy generation system.
Is it by somebody else or is it by the same guy?
Yes, it's I don't remember. You can go to the Evermotion site. They have it. Yeah, on Evermotion, it's on their starting site with a link. They have it in their blog.
I mean, I love that generator, and I obviously have no idea on.
Let me look it up. I can, because I want to give the guy who did the new one some credits. So, because yeah, Mike, I remember we wanted to talk about tips all the time.
You know, and
We always wanted to give some tips. Yeah, the guy who put it down was guruware.at.
Yep.
And the new one is from dude. I found it on CG Press. Sorry, and it is from. I post a link. Okay, CG Press seems to be down. Chop, I think the algorithm of the old one is created by a guy called Luft, and or is the Luft guy the Guruware guy? I don't think so, because no.
I think I just saw that. What's going on, D2 folks? I believe they're streaming at the same time as us today because of a little scheduling mishap. But I think Chop's saying that that it's using the same algorithm as the other guy used, but it's being developed by a new guy, right? Is that what he's saying there?
Yeah, because they're yeah. Oh, okay. It gets boring. I don't want to fight with Chop about algorithm shit. So I guess I'll lose. Yeah, okay. Chop just says no. The Guruware and this one are both based on an old academic project, and this old project is by Thomas Luft or something. I can pause it because this Ivy generator is amazing. Even the old one, I mean, the pictures. If you see the website, the pictures are shit, but it's amazing. When the Guruware guy put it down, the Ivy generator, because I was using it really often. I used this really old tool. You still find it. I just posted the links. So Ivy generator is awesome. You can also simulate some veins and shit. It's just a growth simulation algorithm. So I'm done.
I mean, thank you. I'm just continuing to tweak some things. I don't like where the colors are at right now, but we're making progress in the direction of where I want it to get to.
Yeah.
Slowly. And I am using more I'm using more like big mass than I normally do. Which I think we can largely chalk up to me having not prepared adequately for this.
Chop just wrote, last time I saw this many masks was on the Venice Carnival.
I mean, this is just gonna keep. Wait, so here's what we'll do.
Oh,
what mask?
Milan just wrote, I can't post links. Let's see if I really can't post links.
Can I change that setting?
Let's see. No,
still doesn't work. I don't see any. Am I allowed?
Does it work now?
Am I allowed to change that? I don't know if I'm allowed to change that or not. I don't see an option for how to change that. Nope. Oh wait, participants. I don't know how to do
Did this work? No.
No. Oh. Do-it-yourself hyperlinks. Okay, so we're getting more depth in the image that I like, but it's a little sloppy feeling. So that's okay. I am okay with that. We are going to continue.
I guess posting some links in such a small live stream wouldn't be a problem, but I think YouTube wants to prevent some commercial spammers for that really, really big live streams.
Yeah, which makes, I mean, that makes perfect sense, obviously. But it feels like I should be able to kind of make my own choices on that one. Here's the thought that I'm having.
I wonder why Tanya isn't spamming the chat, Mike.
I mean, because she effectively spammed this whole thing with that beautiful, beautiful thumbnail that she made. We're going to have to clean up that edge still, because every time we adjust something in it, it gets messed up. But I have a plan. I have a plan. And I've just been kind of doing stuff and not talking about it.
Yeah. It's perfectly fine.
All right. And the thing that I'm going through in my head and trying to figure out how I'm going to deal with is I want to make this foreground darker so that we feel more glow in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure how to do it just yet.
For me, it's really important. For me, it's not really the way you're doing it. It's the big picture in the end. Because when I see what you did in the end, I would try to reproduce it in my way. I mean, I wouldn't use some specific masks that you are using, but the big picture is the important thing for me.
Well, that makes me very, very happy because I'm a big, big believer that how you do these kind of things doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's the results that matters. That's this is. Oh no, I'm getting into my education discussion. I think that's the biggest problem in school education, that we all learn all the time that it's that the way is important to find a specific solution, and that is for me the biggest mistake in education, in our education system. So if I was writing a math class test, and I had the right result, but the way of getting there was wrong, I didn't get the full amount of points, and that's weird. So this is really suppressing creativity in children's age. Sorry, that I'm always coming up with this discussion. What do you think about that?
I mean, I absolutely agree. As long as like the way that you came up with was like fundamentally sound, even if it wasn't the right way, if anything, you should get extra points for figuring it out in a different fashion, right? It's easier to follow steps. I do A and then I do B and then I do C because I was taught to do A and then B and then C. That's always going to be easier, but much less flexible than actually being able to figure out problems on your own, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think
school is sucking out creativity.
Well, it's definitely not helping, right? Because at the end of the day, what we really want is for people to be able to like figure out these problems on their own. At least I would argue that. And I feel like every time I do, and Eugene and I actually touched on this like very briefly yesterday, which was, every time that I do one of these live, I get this kind of situation where the student's like, okay, so you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. I'm like, well, in this particular circumstance, I did. But the reason that I did that was, X, Y, and Z for this specific case. The thinking behind it's always kind of the same. Like, I know the depth that I'm trying to get into this image, and I can't fix it all at once. And so I'm just kind of, what are the things that are jumping out at me in a way that I don't like, fixing that, and then moving on to the next thing, right? And like the overall kind of colors of this image right now, of where I've moved them to, I'm not a huge fan of. But like the black and white still isn't quite reading in the way that I want it to yet, and so I'm going to continue kind of pushing that forward.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the colors, but I'm thinking about the values. Um,
I
and
love how you darkened the corners in the foreground. That really underlines the little boy.
and so like everything I'm doing, I'm trying, at least hoping, to accentuate the story that you've already put into this image. But yeah, having like a very dark foreground, because obviously anything that's close to your camera is the thing that's going to have the least atmospheric perspective in it. And so even if the objects isn't super dark, and I probably overdid it up here, we can bring that back later. But even if the object as a whole isn't dark, if those blacks being like the closest to black being right in the foreground is always going to give you the kind of like impression that that's right close to the camera. And then lifted blacks as you move back is going to say this is further away. And so the other thing we're going to do is we're kind of go back into.
I started a discussion with that school thing, because that is really, this is one of the topics, Mike, that bothers me the most. That's really.
Well, you know, it's funny, and I'm glad that we have Chop here in the chat, because one of the things that he and I have talked about a lot when it comes to wrong fucking question is like the goal or the hope that we have in that is that we, you know, like encourage people to like solve more problems on their own, right? So like, as opposed to just trying to necessarily find the exact tutorial that's doing the exact same thing you're doing, you know, when you want to figure out a solution to a problem, going in and actually having like a mindset, not so much of like what the answer is, but of how to find that answer. If that makes any sense.
I completely agree. But school is teaching you that exactly this thing, what you encourage the people to do. This thing is like you're getting a penalty for that.
Yeah. In
that's
way too many of cases.
Right. Sorry.
What? Normal. So you can see that we've, just to give you guys an update of what's going on here, in black and white, this is starting to, again, like pull down some of those colors. And then in color, we obviously lose all the saturation that we should have there. And so we're just going to kind of bring it back. And then we'll paint in this mask a bit more. I wonder, I mean, so not every class that like, when you're talking about schooling, are you talking specifically about like younger education or?
No. I'm talking about education till from the. I mean, I did my degree. It's called Abitur in Germany. It's from the first to the or it was when I did it from the first to the 13th grade, and it was.
So that's
everything. Like
everything up to college?
Like this all the time. It's what? Please?
Sorry. Everything up until college, you mean?
Yes.
Gotcha.
For me, everything. I mean, it was. School was always trying to suppress creativity. It was in my, at least in my school, it was really. It was. You got good grades when you were good in sports class and shit. And I was the guy who, when there were teams chosen for soccer or something else, I was the last guy standing there. Like, who the fuck has to take Patrick in their team? So, because
oh,
now
Patrick.
I'm laughing, but for me, this is what school is. There's no place for creativity. I mean, maybe there are some creative schools, but at least not for me.
Um, I wonder. I
What
mean,
about you, Mike? If you
I,
think back.
if I think back, I mean, so I did play sports when I was starting, or when I was like younger, up until at least like about the time that high school started, and but I don't remember. I don't remember having like such like a visceral reaction to this like lack of creativity. I don't think that it was necessarily like super encouraged, but I don't think it was also. I also don't think that it was discouraged, if that makes any sense. Um,
When I look when I take a look at the chat, I think yeah, like David just wrote, "You are not alone, Patrick. Teachers suck big time." Um, and yes, really, that's my. I'm always wondering why I became a creative person because school really tried to knock that piece out of my character. So
so when like if I think back like to high school, one of the things that I did a lot in high school was like I was like a very willful child, and I did well in school, but in a pretty like not standard way. So like I had one teacher who I really like. She was teaching uh, my like junior or senior year English class, and we were doing like poetry. And at the time, I was like really into like John Donne and Walt Whitman and a few others. And so she was like, she was teaching us. I forget what poet she had on the curriculum, and I'm like, this is like an intro to poetry for a lot of people, and you have us reading the most like vapid, terrible nonsense. And like, and I
yeah.
was a pretty like, I was a bit of a prick, and I said that like out loud in class, and I offended her, as I was probably intending to do, as I was young, right? We're not going to make apologies, but it wasn't obviously the best way to deal with that situation. But she's like, "Do you think it's easy to teach poetry?" I'm like, "Probably not that hard. You just need to pick the right poets." And she's like, "Well, do you want to teach this class?" And I'm like, "The poetry section?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll start tomorrow." And like, I taught like a week long class on like the poets that I thought were like worth reading and really interesting. Um, I don't know how she reacted to it. I don't think she expected me to say yes. I'll just teach the class for the next week. And so I don't think that she was encouraging creativity, but like by chance she kind of ended up doing so. Um, just because like I was a pretty arrogant kid. Um, and so yeah, so I got to like put together a curriculum and teach all the rest of the students the things that I thought that they should know about poetry.
Chop just wrote Teenage Douchebaggery 101
Oh
by
yeah,
Mike
dude.
Golden.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not going to deny that even in the least. But I
So
think
what
that
are
it
you?
like,
What are you? Sorry, Mike.
yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go. Um,
We're going to be here all day. All day,
yes.
folks. And I want to get.
So what are you doing now?
I'm still kind of just like. Right now, whenever you see me, like, kind of like noodling these little details,
What are you doing? You're noodling.
I'm going to call this noodling. I'm fixing like little things that need to at some point get fixed.
Okay, then we're gonna noodle this out.
We're gonna noodle a little bit. Usually, I noodle when I'm thinking about how to do something. So what are the last couple of layers have done? We're really just kind of like taking your beautiful edge and continuing to soften it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like value-wise, this is starting to get to where I can get to. So like if we look at like just the before and after in black and white,
I liked it more before.
I'm okay with that. Um,
No, no.
So we're for what I'm trying to accomplish, like we're starting to get like I feel like you can see more clear. It's more legible as things move back into the image. Um, but I think that color still needs quite a bit of work. I don't like where the colors have gone, and I'm trying to think how I want to tie. I don't want to change this bright orange because there's something like beautiful, sickly, explosive, obviously, about the orange. And
Yeah, my intention was that it might seem self-made, that it's something that was not on purpose. Something that just turned out, yeah.
and there's something really cool about it, but it does kind of have like it almost feels like it's glowing, which I don't think is a bad thing, but I'm trying to figure out how I want to try and deal with that. And I'm not, and I don't know what the answer is just yet. So we're just gonna kind of keep tweaking, as they might say. One of the things that anyone who does probably keep their Photoshop layers super duper clean, right? You're not supposed to continually like adjust the same thing, make it brighter, make it darker. It's one of the reasons I do work in 16-bit all of the time. I don't really have this idea that like you should stop and figure out what you're doing. I do believe that you should just kind of keep working forward all of the time. And so I'm just going to kind of keep going with it. Maybe we'll start to deal with some color stuff now. I still don't like the foreground.
Yeah, Milan just wrote that he got the impression that I'm kind of lost because you're super fluent in doing all that post stuff. No, really, I'm not lost. I'm really looking forward to the end result.
Yeah, if there's anything that like you have a specific question on of what I'm doing or what I'm trying to get done, I'm happy to answer it.
For me, the learning is not directly about the technique, because I'm sure. I mean, I'm using Photoshop for the last 20 years, I would say, and yeah, not for post, but I think I just want to see the final result. I think going there it might be way tougher for me than for you, but I think my task would be to try to achieve something similar than you do, but of course in my way of doing it.
I love that mentality. I love that mentality, and I love it especially because once I can get to a point in this image where I can say like, oh yeah, okay, so I like this now, right? Because we're not there yet by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure I could look at it and say like, here's a faster way to get there.
Milan meant he just says no. I meant about the structure of the workflow because I'm this case it's not linear. I don't know if I managed to explain what I mean. Okay.
I don't have I definitely don't have a workflow.
Yeah, it's really that. Then he's completely right. It's for me. I have the same impression. It's completely you're like really jumping around.
Yeah, and if I have a workflow, it is to jump around.
Yeah. That okay. So you're basically non-linear on two legs.
Yes, Manuel Delanda all over the place over here.
Mm-hmm. I have 30 seconds to get a whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely you do.
You have to talk then. You have to You have to entertain.
Okay, so while you
You're
are gone,
always entertaining, man.
while you are gone, I'm going to give away all the tricks that I'm not telling
Okay,
you.
okay, okay. I get a whiskey.
Definitely. Um, yeah, I said I was going to talk. What should I talk about? So, all I'm really trying to do is continue what I've been doing, which is like, okay, so like before I made this guy, you can see that his head. Oops. Ooh, there's a bad mask, Mike. You can see that his head, some mask got moved somewhere. I'm not going to bother figuring out where. His head starts to kind of blend in right next to this. And so I'm just trying to pull out his silhouette more, right? And everything that I'm doing, like when I went over here and got rid of, where did I do that? At some point, there maybe? If we look over here, all this is doing is that we have this one little bright line over here, which pulls a little bit of attention there. It's not an important thing, but again, I'm just thinking through this whole process of, well, I know I don't want that there. I might as well remove it, right? That's pulling attention off to the side, and I want all of the attention for this image to continue being focused towards the center. But there's not. I wish. I don't know if I do wish that I had more of a. Methodology to how I kind of work on this. It's always right now. What I'm thinking in my head is, this feels a little too saturated, and so I'm just going to softly brush it down just a bit. And this top part feels a little undersaturated, and so I'm going to increase it a little bit.
Back.
All right, secret's over. Secret's over.
Oh, fuck.
I was just basically trying to explain my kind of lack of a methodology, which is all I'm really doing is continuing to see what jumps out at me that works and what jumps out at me that doesn't work, and then fix that and keep moving forward.
But honestly, that's exactly the way I'm doing my 3D stuff. I don't have a specific workflow. It's just, but I realize always that my images get better the more I try to structure myself, the more I'm focusing on, like, when I really say to myself, yeah, I know I'm gonna focus on the floor for the next hour, then the images get better for me. When I'm jumping around, that's what I'm usually do. The end result is not as pleasing as if I'm really structured.
Let's just remake this mask. Really structured for me, when we're talking about like post production, there's so many things within post that it's like it's a tip and a trick or a tool, as you might call it, but it doesn't work for all images, right? Like the idea that I do this and then I do this and then I do this, for any particular image that might work. Why is that coming out wrong? I'm just not going to figure out where I messed up a mask. I don't know why I'm looking at. It's way too early to worry about details. The whole idea, I think, of post is that you want to be able to assess the thing that you're trying to fix, more so than having a methodology to go through it. Because in a lot of, like, especially for my client images where I tend to push the 3D further than I do for my personal stuff, it might just be a couple of small little tweaks that I need to make. And sometimes that might be like global color and contrast. And sometimes it's just, there was like a green in a cushion or something like that I couldn't quite get right in 3D, and just little tweak. But every one of my Photoshop files is structured differently, or like the process of thinking through it's differently, because every image needs different adjustments.
Mike, Eugene just asked, Photoshop or Affinity Photo, is one better than the other? I bought Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer, and I can't really say if one is better than the other, but it's just when you're used Photoshop, you're used to Photoshop for such a long time, then it's tough for another piece of software to compete with that. For me, what do you say?
I bought Affinity way back when Bertrand
In the beta.
Benoit was like, you can stamp multiple layers at once, right? This was well before Substance existed. Um, and so you could go and, like, if you had to adjust like multiple maps, you could stamp them, clone stamp them all at once in there. And I'm like, oh, that's a super powerful tool. I like that. So I went and I bought it then, and I used it for that, and I still use it each now and again. For some reason, I save all of my images out of the frame buffer as 32-bit floating EXRs, and then sometimes Photoshop just randomly won't open one, but Affinity always
Yeah.
will. So like, there's a lot of cool stuff, but every time I've tried to be like, okay, I'm going to edit an image just in Affinity. Every time I do that, I'm like, I know exactly how I would do that in Photoshop.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
there's like this inertia of like not wanting to
Yeah.
learn the same exact thing over and over again.
Yeah. That's exactly the point, and it's for me same with 3D software. I mean, when I studied architecture, I used some Cinema 4D. Then after a while, I switched to Max in the last years, and now I'm so used to Max that everything else, maybe you know that, it just doesn't seem logical. I mean, somebody who's using Max saying that other software doesn't seem logical is really mean. But for me, it's exactly like that. I think Chop would agree. For fun, I tried Blender a couple of times, just for fun, just for getting a bit of the hype. But for me, it's simply not the same. I'm used to Max, and I'm gonna stick to Max. I don't know. Is it the same for you, Mike? In terms of 3D?
I always need I need a reason, like a very specific reason. So like, I've recently started like looking more at Blender because I do want to learn how to use that grease pencil tool that seems really cool.
Yeah.
For not like, it's like 2.5D, right? Like, I get to draw stuff and paint stuff, but then
And
it
you
still
can
exists in 3D
convert
space.
it and shit. Yeah.
So I'd like to learn how to do that, but then every time like I look at learning, like, let's say Houdini, I don't have, it's such like a big jump to get into it that I'm like, for the things that I want to do, I can figure out a way to do that in Max and not overcomplicate my workflow.
Oh, this is actually a thing, Mike. Sorry. I tried. I'm still trying. I started learning Houdini 2 years ago. It
And
would be something cool for a Nerdrant, Mike, to show you some Houdini shit.
to do some Houdini, there's one of my good friends, Jeff, who is a developer, and he's done a bunch of cool graphic design, VFX type of work in like games and movies. He he's huge into Houdini, and he's like, I'll teach you it. And I'm like, but I only learn things when I have like a reason that I want to. So like, for me to really like want to jump in to Houdini and actually like learn it, I need to have like I want to learn Houdini so that I can do X, whatever that might be. And I just don't have that right now.
Oh yeah.
Need to
David
fix
is asking, is Houdini really useful for Arquiz? Honestly, I don't give a shit. Because Houdini is just fun to use. I don't know if somebody uses it for Arquiz. I guess yes. Because you can get Redshift and Octane for Houdini. So I guess it's possible, but Houdini is like really... Oh, Tanya is just writing, you stick to Max. Sounds like you're dumping me for someone called Max. Okay, this is my wife. Okay, no, it's not this Max. No, Houdini is just fun to use, and I would love to have a Nerdrant with like Houdini play around Nerdrant.
I am not opposed to that in the least.
What does that mean? That was some vocabulary, Mike, you just used. I don't know what that means.
I am not opposed to that in the least.
Yes, that was way too complex for a German. Say it. Make it simpler.
You guys have sentences that are like 50. It's like 2 words, but it's like 50 consonants long.
Oh, we have a really, really cool one. I post the word. I can post it in the chat. It is amazing. Yeah. Okay, it's this word. You will love it. Maybe you should take a look in the chat, Mike. It's this one. It's an amazing word. It's Rindfleisch-Etikettierungsüberwachungsauftragen-Übertragungsgesetz.
That's a word.
Yeah, it's one word.
Nonsense.
Yeah, and Job just writes Donaudampfschifffahrtsgesellschaftskapitän. Yeah. But Rindfleisch-Etikettierungsüberwachungsaufgabe Übertragungsgesetz is amazing.
What the? You guys are just. Look, I can.
It looks like somebody hammered on his keyboard.
Here's my favorite word. I wish I had a keystroke for an umlaut. There's my favorite word.
Ah, it's German. Mike, what are you doing now? It seems like you lost. You're just toning it down, or?
No. I am. Honestly, I'm struggling. Is the correct answer to it?
Yeah,
and
but
so,
it's okay. I also struggled last week.
Oh, we had this conversation right before we started this chat.
Yeah.
And minus the fact that at some point between your final and the mask that I used, like some things got moved. Like I think the camera shifted a little bit. So that's kind of driving me up a wall. But what I'm doing with these little things is I'm still just kind of like, effectively what I'm doing is just doing stuff in hopes that,
which is cool.
In hopes that as I continue and just like work my brain through, I'll come up with a solution of what I'm going to do here in the foreground. I'm a big believer that just doing things keeps your brain moving. And so I'm almost always, whenever I'm in 3D or in post-production, if I'm stuck, I'm just going to keep kind of doing things without a specific reason for it, so to speak, which is obviously not the best advice unless you're stuck. And so there's some things that I don't like with where this is at. And there are some things that I like. I like that there's more depth. It feels a little flat to me, and I'm struggling with how bright this whatever like light is inside between him and this computer, and I don't know how to fix it in post that's clean. And so I'm doing other stuff whilst trying to think of how I could fix that.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, totally.
Totally, kinda. You're stuck.
No, it makes sense.
You're trying to figure out a way through things.
While you're at the same time, your brain is trying to figure out something way more complex. Yeah, it makes sense.
Well, there you go. I like it.
You see, I got it. I didn't just fucking agree, man.
You absolutely got it. Yeah, and that if there's like one part of my workflow that's like consistent, it's that. It's that whether I'm drawing stuff or doing post-production, I think that the best way to figure out your problem is just to do stuff until you figure out your problem.
Yeah, of course.
Because I think that my natural inclination is almost always to want to know what I'm doing. And as a result, I sit and I don't do anything. And I think that even though that's my like natural kind of brain's way of dealing with stuff, it's the absolute worst possible way to deal with stuff.
Yeah, not doing anything is the worst shit ever. Even a bad. I don't know who said that. Maybe somebody in the chat, some of the viewers know that even a bad idea executed is way better than an amazing idea not executed.
Yeah.
I don't know who. It was directly translated in German. It of course sounds way more poetic.
It probably sounds a lot harsher.
Yeah, like Krankenwagen.
Everything in German just sounds like so. Is is there a lot of subtlety in the language? I feel like the very harsh like actual like audio cadency of German makes everything sound really definitive. Would you say that there's a lot of actual subtlety in the language, or is there not?
What do you mean by subtlety?
I am not opposed to that at all. The sentence, right, which is saying,
It's tough. It's tough because it's my mother tongue. So it's yeah. I don't really know. Maybe for your ears, yes, but no, it's for me German is because my wife is she's half Serbian, and when I'm listening to Serbian, this sounds really harsh and really rough.
Serbian sounds very rough and harsh to you. Is that what you're saying?
But the Serbians wouldn't agree, I think. I mean, we have a Serbian here, Milan. I just heard my wife laughing. No, it's it's. I think it's a pretty strange language.
I don't. Can you speak Serbian or no?
I'm learning Serbian. Ja učim srpski.
Wait, say it again.
Ja učim is I'm learning.
There you go.
And yeah, that's probably the only straight sentence I know. And the other stuff in Serbian I know I shouldn't probably teach you online. We can I can arrange a private call to teach you what I learned from Tanya's cousins and Tanya's family.
So what you're telling me is that you're learning the important stuff.
Yes, I learned probably most half of my Serbian vocab at a local Serbian soccer game, and you can imagine what that means. They were like two tiny central Serbian villages playing against each other, and this is how I learned half of my vocab. So I can't say that here because it's going online, and no.
Yeah, I mean we're trying to keep things decent over here, as much as we can.
But what for you American ears is the most like the most interesting language?
The most interesting.
What is the language of choice? If you could learn one language by in a jiffy, what would it be? If you could select one language.
If I could learn one language. What would that one language be? That's a tough question because I have tried to learn like a bunch of different languages and failed every time I've tried. So like there's a part of me that really wishes to be able to speak like anyone that's like, oh yeah, I picked up so and so language the other day. I'm just like, oh you son of a bitch. Like I'm just so jealous of it. If I could learn one language, and I'm trying to think of it in there's like a practical side.
And economical reasons don't count.
Economical in the sense of like, oh, I would get more work if I could speak Spanish.
Yeah, yeah, of course. That doesn't count. So what would the language of choice be? Just for your, just out of personal interest and joy.
Out of personal interest and joy. There's a part of the first one that comes to mind is I really wish I could speak Italian. I love the sound of Italian.
Boobity babidi.
Chop I see says Japanese. I would love to speak Japanese, but like, that one. I lived in China for 3 months and picked up no sounds. All I learned in my time in Japan in China was that I have I don't even hear why my pronunciation of the words are wrong.
Because you're American.
I mean, that's definitely part of it. Like there's no doubt. Like I mean, they've done all those studies, right? Which is that like the more that you are exposed to a language at a younger age,
Yeah.
the better you are at picking up languages in the future. And
Yeah, you're picking it up really, really fast when you're a child. Yeah.
And in America, like you could, if you go in Europe, you obviously hear English everywhere, but you also hear the native country that you're in, but then you also hear like, I'm sure that you hear a decent amount of French as a child growing up in Germany, right? So you hear all of those sounds and your brain starts to learn ways to process it. And in America, like you hear, English and bad English. And then depending on where you live, maybe Spanish.
Yeah.
And so, I wish that were not the case.
Clark just writes, it's pronounced American.
America.
Yeah, okay.
Get her done.
I have a cool history in learning or trying to learn languages. When I studied architecture, Tanya and me wanted to, after our master's degree, we had the plan to move to Copenhagen, to Denmark. So we tried to learn Danish, which was quite hard.
Danish was really hard?
Danish is super, super hard to learn. When as a German, when you read a Danish sign or something, a Danish traffic sign, it's super easy. But it's the whole language. They speak completely different than they write. It's
how, like, can you give me an example of that? Like, what do you mean?
For example, like when I say my name is Patrick, it's written like this. I write it in the chat. Yeah. How would you pronounce that?
Wait. I mean, Jag Header Patrick.
Yeah, but it's Jeg hedder Patrick. Yeah, and that is the correct pronunciation. It's Jeg hedder Patrick.
Yeah, I got you. So what you're saying is that I was just gonna say Danish to you looks like every other language to me.
Yes. Maybe, Mike. Maybe. And the second weirdest thing to learn, the second weirdest language was Tanya and me tried to study for a semester at Mimar Sinan in Istanbul, and we tried to learn Turkish. And Turkish is horrible to learn because the whole language is grammar. When they just one sentence can be just 5 words put behind each other. Like it is one word. One word becomes a sentence. It's
so
tough.
Oh, so like literally you join words. For a second I was thinking like Latin.
Yeah, you're joining words, And in the end, it's one word, but it means a whole sentence.
Yeah, I don't think I'd
So,
do well with that.
no, me neither. So,
What I'm doing right now is I've pasted back in the original, well, more or less the original, minus these ugly halos, but we're just gonna have to live with. And what I'm gonna try and do. So, like, the idea for here's what I'm gonna do. The idea for what I want to have happen here is, I want. So, like, you can see how light his back is, right? Like, that's bright. The white on the back, even though
you're talking about light, Mike. We have a question. Where's this strong side light coming from? Did I miss this part?
well, I mean, this strong side light here, like Patrick, you did the 3D on this. Why is?
Yeah, it is. It is there because of specific reasons. Those are really, or like really complex reasons. I can't. It would take lots of time to explain why this sidelight is there.
Us mere mortals would not understand.
Yeah, normal people wouldn't understand. Anyway.
So like what I
don't have a fucking clue why it's there.
So like what I would want to see happen there is that, like, basically, oh yeah, these brushes don't. We're not going to keep this as a paint over because the point is not to do a paint over. I'm going to try and figure out what we have. Like another half an hour. These usually go for about 2 hours. We have another half an hour for me to get this place that I'm happy with. But what I would want to see here is like more of his silhouette and just a little bit of rim light coming from the computer. Right? It doesn't make any sense that we have. Yeah. It doesn't make any visual sense that we have almost any light on the back.
Yeah.
But editing that is always a fucking challenge, right? Like, this would be the type of thing where I'd say, like, yeah, and then if you really wanted to fix this, you should do it in 3D. But that is, I think, right now, a cop-out because I said I was going to teach you post-production, and I don't feel like I've succeeded in doing that.
Oh, I think you did. You already did.
Oh, well then we're done.
Honestly, I love the part. I love two parts the most. How you focus the whole image towards the center, and the thing what you did with the, how do you call it, the mushroom cloud.
Yeah, mushroom cloud.
What you did in the part on the foot of the mushroom cloud. This looks amazing. It's like a really big enhancement for the image.
You are too kind. Thank you.
No, I like where this goes. So and this what you just did makes perfect sense. So
and we can probably clean it up enough to work here. Let's see.
Chop just wrote, cover the kid in shoe polish. That's bullying.
Well, that's not just bullying. I mean, there's a whole bunch of problems with that.
I like this Chop guy.
Who is he? We should talk to him more.
I think he's probably a troll.
He's a 3D internet troll. He's just on here, giving us tips.
Yeah. With his fantasy name.
So, like, as heavy-handed as that is, we might leave it.
He just wrote unfriend.
Yeah, we'll leave it. And then what we're going to do... So, we have our silhouette of this guy. Actually. So that's just a copy merged layer. I'm gonna set it to screen, and I don't want to make everything brighter, but I'm gonna I'm gonna blur it and soften it, and I'm gonna color it. I think maybe bluish.
Question, Mike.
Yes.
Are you spending, like, imagine this would be a project made by you. So
Yes.
how much time in average do you spend on post-production for an image like this?
Less than I've already spent on this.
Okay.
So like for like the last like all 3D thing that I did in on like my Droki page, which like this is more like my Droki work than like professional work, right? This is like a sketch of like a cool concept idea. That's usually an hour if I'm not trying to talk whilst doing it. And for my professional work, like a lot of the things that I've been trying to fix here would be better fixed in 3D.
Okay.
As far as light goes, because like a lot of it's like I'm trying to get the light to feel a little bit more. What the? That's the wrong. Something's gone wrong here. Delete layer mask. That like going in and changing this light so that it's just from the screen and just kind of hitting the boy's chest. Would take away the light that is. Let's turn off this in progress layer. Like the light there's too much light hitting over there, so like I've darkened that down like considerably. And I've darkened all of this light that's hitting the foreground but not really hitting the background. Right? And those things in post, like it's a lot of like finicky adjustments that are obviously not going incredibly well, but they're going in that direction. Whereas in 3D, just changing that light would fix all of that kind of at once, and then like adjusting the brightness of the sky, we wouldn't have to fuck with the edge of F-Storm's lack of VDB.
So the essence of what you're teaching me, what I get now, is that you are thinking about a specific light situation, how you would wish it is. Correct.
Yes.
So
well,
because F-Storm is, as we know, F-Storm is an unbiased renderer. So the light is, if you use a proper HDRI, the light is correct in a way.
I mean, so I disagree with that. Not that
it would be at least physically correct, Mike. Chop, correct me if I'm wrong, but
at the end of the day, though, right? Like everything. Even when they're quote unquote physically correct, an HDRI still has an exposure baked into it that then you're applying a gamma to, right? That
amazing.
Everything is at the end of the day a cheat in one way or another, to create a real world physical. Unless we're going in there and setting all of these materials up in some I don't even know way, we're faking a lot of things, right? Like the bump on this tree is not the way that it happens in real life, right? Because there's actual geometry for those bumps. The idea of anything that we're looking at is still being faked to some degree, I would argue. And so for me, the physical correctness of it, like at the end of the day, when we look at like this image, if we have this much color on her back and his back, this whole scene would be a lot brighter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if the sky was this bright in camera, then the blacks wouldn't be as consistent across this whole image.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so it's not to say that F-Storm's not or is a physically correct, unbiased rendering. It's just that like right now I'm gonna guess that we have like some kind of maybe like a point light in between him and the screen. Because like, how did this side get so incredibly bright? I'm not entirely sure. Um, but we can like fake real world effects that like our eyes are saying like this is what it should be. Like his back being dark to me feels right.
Yeah.
Um, and what feels right is probably not what's like photographically correct necessarily.
If you compare it now to the, let's say, raw render, I love it. I love how you tweak the foreground. I love how you tweak the smoke or the mushroom cloud. The only thing that I don't really get at the moment is that you made the sky even more hazy.
I know I don't like that either, and I don't have a like the first thing we tried to do in this was just to darken the sky, not to make it more hazy. And we have because the all of the aliasing between our subsurface scattering on this and the sky is not being processed in the alpha. Adjusting that in post is a bitch. So let's see if we can't fix that one comment though, because
Yeah.
I agree this has become very hazy and that wasn't my initial attention. We win some, we lose some. What's this? That was that paint layer. Let's see if we can't fix the sky. What's our way to do it? Well, we need to grab the sky again.
Yeah, Chop just wrote, and as soon as you use the powers of art direction, it stops being physically correct anyway. Yeah, if you count client wishes as art direction as well, yes, yes. Make the sky more blue, please. We have an awesome interior image. Please make the sky blue.
I mean, that's
Yeah, you can't teach clients about photography. It's simply impossible. That's what I learned. I think you wouldn't disagree.
no. You cannot. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. And it also doesn't matter, right? Because like how blue a sky feels isn't just about the actual like color of that sky, right? Like the entire color of the image, entire brightness of the image affects how that sky feels. Such that like what would count as like a very blue sky for an exterior rendering is much darker and much more saturated than what would feel like an equivalently blue sky on an interior rendering.
Yeah.
Right, because our eye. You remember that? You remember that meme, the blue dress, gold dress thing.
Oh yes, 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 of course. And wasn't it blue in the end? The real color?
I don't remember. To be 100% honest.
People are just writing blue sky, no clouds, semi-transparent people, please. And Tanya says, don't forget the transparent trees. This is the worst shit you can do. I refuse to do that. Sorry, you can't put in transparent trees. This is no. Sorry. What? Please, people, everyone should write a comment now. It's. Did you ever deliver a transparent tree to a client? Did you?
Have I ever? I mean, does it count like when I was still like in grad school working in architecture?
No. This is where it's all from grad school.
Well, yeah, I mean, because transparent works for like quick architectural stuff done in office for like two reasons, right? One is that it doesn't block the building, which is what architects care about.
Yeah,
but I think that the bigger thing is that why architects tend to like it so much is that when you do that, when you do it in that way, naturally by making it transparent, if the colors are completely off from the rest of the image, the colors get closer to where they should be if it wasn't transparent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
I'm not arguing for it, but I'm saying
no, no.
I'm trying to explain one of the reasons I think that a lot of
Yeah, but isn't that a thing about saturation in the end? Then turn down the fucking saturation. So, I mean, yeah, as where was it? As Matthias said, or Matthias, or said, deleted leaves. Yeah, this is how we normally do it. So we delete some leaves via some random maps and random opacity maps. And
yeah.
So that it's.
Um,
But this is. Yeah, there are two things in ArcVis I really, yeah, I really hate. Yes, I can say that. It's the first thing is transparent trees. The question for transparent trees, and the second thing, Mike, is this one perspective that everyone knows. When the client wants to have one perspective, he doesn't want to pay for two perspectives. So you have to have this perspective where you see the corner of the building. And in the end, the client says, yeah, but why is one of the corners in, why is it shaded? Why is it in the shadow? And you're like, what the fuck? Because it looks good. No, please light it up, light everything up with, or create a second sun. It's, yeah, these are the two things. It's the normal developer perspective and transparent trees. What is your top 2 or top 3?
I mean, those are definitely. I mean, I don't feel like I get asked for transparent trees that often. So like that's not in my top 3. Like I can't stand seeing transparent people or transparent trees, but I don't feel like that's like on my top 2 just because I don't feel like I have to deal with it all of the time. For me, it's definitely dark blue skies and daytime interior renderings.
Yeah, yeah.
That's definitely my number 1.
My top 3.
What else are like my major? I mean, I think I've made pretty clear how I feel about.
Clark just writes. The thing I hate the most is when you're doing an exterior at noon and the client wants to see the interior glowing. Yeah, that's always the case. But no, the best thing is when they ask for glowing interiors, but they want a reflection of the clouds on the windows.
That one's a pet peeve of mine. Let's do a dusk interior and just, let's not show any reflection on the glass. That drives me crazy. I don't. We're going to go and see if my old friend Nick wants to help me out.
Who's your old friend Nick?
Nick Color Effects, which I use on pretty much all of my images. Excuse me. I'm a huge fan of Nick Color Effects. I use like 2 settings like kind of all of the time. And I feel like because it's adjusting everything algorithmically, as opposed to with masks, it will kind of like soften and tie a lot of things together. So this is like, it's just a bunch of nonsense over there, really. But I tend to like what it does to an image.
Mike, can you explain something to me?
Yeah.
There was some. Clark just wrote, "This has turned into a jabbered conversation." What the fuck is a jabbered?
I don't know. Jabbered.
Okay, maybe Clark can explain.
Yeah. I would love to say that it's just you being German, you don't understand it, but I don't know that one.
No, me neither.
Unless, that's not a reference to Jar Jar Binks, hopefully. That would be a bad thing.
I know.
Oh,
Javad was the
okay.
video from Fabio where Fabio was imitating the Fabio as Job was just describing his as Fabio's acting attempt.
I mean, that is one of my favorite of Fabio's videos still. I feel like
Yes.
he nails like the idiocy of like client requests. Um,
Whoa, that changed a lot, Mike.
yeah. So yeah, I love that. It's not like things changed majorly, but it effectively, like they didn't change a ton, but it brings together a lot of like shadows. It ties a lot of shadows together and kind of softens a lot of stuff.
Um, do you know what I'm missing at the moment? The last thing I would do now is I would take everything you've done, put a high pass on, like with 1.6 to 2, and do a soft light layering
To
to
sharpen
to
it, to crisp
yeah
things up.
yeah
Um,
because it lost a bit of sharpness at the moment.
yeah,
But
so
this is just what I'm seeing in the stream, so I don't see your screen in full size. Maybe I'm wrong.
it definitely lost sharp. Oops. Like even in that just like one little layer, if we turn this back up to 100%, come on, computer. Like it has like a pretty heavy quote unquote glow to it. That like that's just like a preset that I use all of the time. But we also have like a 5K image being downsampled. We'll fix that, but not
Okay.
just yet. I think we're gonna do a couple other things here. Because we're coming in on 2 hours, so I am not thrilled with how this went,
I like it.
but I don't hate it.
I like it. I quite like it. It's way more moody than the raw one.
It's moodier than I was intending, at least at the outset. Our smoke cloud VDB problem.
Yes, but this is the problem caused by me, not by you. So
Well, yeah, but
um,
I could have foreseen it. But I think, I mean, at the end of the day, whenever you're having trouble in post production, going moodier is always going to help quite a bit, right? Because moody is easy. Um,
no, I really like it. I think it's yeah, it it's it looks way better than before. I have to admit, and it's not because you're my friend.
oh, you're just trying to make me feel good. That's very nice
Oh
of you.
no, no, it looks yeah.
Ignore what's going on in the top half of the screen right now. I'm going to try and bring just a smidgen. I mean, this had to have been warm light in the original. And I feel like a monitor should be cool light. But I don't think I'm going to succeed in trying to change that at this point.
I
But so,
think yeah.
I want to see. If we can like the amount that this is blown out is visually upsetting to me. And that helps a little bit, but not enough. Yeah, it's just gonna have to live that way.
I think the thing with the little boy had the biggest impact to me. That you created with this shoe polish, as Job called it. You created a rim light in the end, so it looks way more pleasing.
Thank you. Um, and that will be something that you could have like. There are like one of the things, um, like two of the things that I would have done in 3D is one I would have adjusted this light so that the light from this is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the mental problems is is I'm going to guess I've seen the 3D scene. I don't remember there being anything behind the camera. Is that right?
Yeah.
And by this composition, we are kind of sitting in like the edge of a forest to me, which means we're getting a whole bunch of ambient light
Yeah.
from behind, when in reality there would be trees or a forest or whatever that would be blocking all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess if we went back to the scene that initially rendered this and we put right behind the camera like a big kind of like just black box to block that ambient light, all of these like pointing towards the surfaces, pointing towards the camera surfaces, including like his back, her back, like these like sides of the rock that shouldn't have like really any light on them, would go dark naturally.
We have a question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Claudio asks, do you sometimes do back and forward from 3D paint on and adjust again in 3D?
Yes, Claudio. I do it all of the time. Especially when like looking at this, I might not know where I want it to go. Doing like a little bit of like much rougher adjustments than this, more paint overly. If that gives me an idea of like, okay, so what do I want to do? If I kind of like this, but I don't like how this has become super hazy, right? Which it definitely has. What can I do to get closer to this in 3D? Well, I could go in and soften the brightness of the sky, which doesn't need to be necessarily a lighting change. You could use the alpha, right? And just use the same sky, just darker, so that we're not blowing out this edge. And then the shadows on the back, right? Like going in and putting in a big box with just a pure black material on the back behind the camera will block all of this ambient light from the HDRI from lighting these surfaces that I want dark.
Yeah.
Right? And then if we did those like two changes, that's most of what I've spent today like trying to adjust in post, and it would look better, and it wouldn't. We've lost like a bunch of detail really in I've painted away all of that fun. Yeah, that's okay for this. And then the Photoshop would be like the next time you did Photoshop, it would be that much closer or that much quicker.
Yep.
So that's 2 hours of how I figured out that we should get the back of the boy darker.
No, it looks cool. It's cool. Yeah.
A
If I
couple
have your
of
permission, I didn't post it on our Insta. So if I have your permission after the post, I would love to post it. No.
Yeah. I'm gonna do like 3 things that I do at the end of almost all of these images. One is that we have a hue saturation layer. Since I should give some tips for today, for those of you that have stuck through us for 2 hours, a hue saturation layer at the very top of an image, set to colorize and like a single digit percentage point opacity level, will adjust the overall tones of an image, right? Can you guys see that? Is that coming through to you, Patrick?
Oh yes. Yeah.
So it adjusts the overall tones, but it also moves all of the colors in your scene towards like one point, which is if you've been adjusting a lot of little stuff, or there was stuff, it kind of like unifies everything, right? And so I do it most of the time, and I kind of just go like, I don't like it in the green area. Do I want to go a little bit warmer, or do I want to go a little bit cooler? I think for this one, I kind of like it in the cool range. So it's a super small thing, but it brings conflicting colors together, which I think helps. We've already done screen and soft light layers somewhere down here in this mess of layers that we've created today. So we're not going to do that. We don't need more blur. I'm going to do one thing to bring back some detail, which I'm going to do with Color Effects Pro again, which is, as opposed to just sharpening the image, because this has gotten so incredibly soft over this amount of time, we can use what they call dynamic contrast, which like is just adjusting local contrast. It's kind of like it's not sharpening and it's not adding contrast. It's somewhere in between. Um, I'm just gonna do it all the way, which is way too much, admittedly, because it kind of gives you like what's it called? It gives you like kind of like an HDR vibe in a negative way. But it brings back a lot of detail that I kind of like destroyed. And so I'm going to go put a mask on it, and I'm just going to lift it so that it's affecting everything just a little bit. And then by toggling it on and off, I can see where I like it being added and where I don't like it being added. And then I can kind of paint in some of that just into this with like a soft brush. That's too much. Basically, anywhere you end up painting with this is going to become more visually present. And then we ended up with almost a white sky again.
Yeah, but that's how I wanted it.
It does feel, at least I do think that we succeeded in making it feel a little less murky than it was.
But there is, Mike, there's a bright spot in the upper right corner. Or do I get it wrong?
Well, there's a little bit of a halo almost around this entire
Okay.
thing, which I don't love. Let's figure out where it comes in. That one probably.
I like it.
Oh, do you mean like in the actual corner?
Yeah, in the actual corner.
Yeah, there definitely is. I will show you how I fix that, generally speaking. When it's like a blue sky like this, I actually find it easiest to actually first paint it with the actual colors, because it's again here. Some filter that I ran left us with like a halo along the edges for some reason, which, hey, life happens. And then I'm going to darken just that layer. Right at the edges. I am a sucker for vignette.
I guess you fixed it.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
We could noodle that if we needed to.
Yeah, we're always noodling.
And now, I usually don't use high pass to sharpen. I usually use smart sharpen. And it was turned way up because for painting, I like a lot of sharpening. For this, I usually like somewhere in this world. 103, 1.610, something. And then add noise. Gauzy and monochromatic. Yeah, you can see where our masks are still ugly, but...
Yeah, but... Yeah. I got you. Great.
There you go. Easy. See? Like I said, it was just going to be like a couple of quick changes, and it's going to be a snap of the fingers, and it's going to be pretty again.
Yeah, it's just 125 minutes, and you're done.
Like I said, I love post. It's super quick and simple.
Yeah. No, but I love the way you went.
Yeah. I enjoyed this process. It was more of a challenge than I expected it to be, and I like challenges. I'm just gonna sit here and noodle until you say, Mike, we're done.
Mike, we're done.
Yeah, see that halo line's now bothering me. I'll fix that before I send you this file. But I'm going to call that finished and at least suggest the direction that I would go, if not how I would actually do it. I feel like I owe you a better explanation of how I do post-production.
Oh, you don't have to. It's for me. No, it's yeah. I saw I saw your way of working. It's jumping around with a lot of experience, and yeah, we will see what I learned, and we will see what you learned with Tyflow.
I know we have to. After the chat, we have to pick a day for next week that we'll do Tyflow. Me trying to do Tyflow, and then the week after that, you get to try and do post production.
Yes, you deliver me one image, and I'm trying post production.
Do I get to give you the image for post production?
Yeah, you are giving me the raw one. I give you the task for Tyflow.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Oh yes.
So I get to make you an image, and do I get to direct how I want you to edit it, like what I want you to do, effect wise?
The raw direction, I would say.
That's what I mean. Like I want this to be brighter, darker, moodier, happier.
I think moodier is the way to go.
Post production's all about moody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm giving you a task with Tyflow, or I'm thinking about 3 tasks. And
three tasks for the beginner.
It's not a challenge where we're not talking. So I think the other one is always helping. This is the fun part of it. So all the people can watch somebody not really knowing what to do, and somebody watching over his shoulder and giving cool tips. So
I'm just imagining what would happen. Be like, I don't know how to do this. Well, you're on your own, buddy. Clock's ticking. Clock's ticking.
Okay, cool.
Well, I think that's it. Sorry this went on so long, but I did enjoy doing it.
Me too.
Patrick, I appreciate you being here, and I'm glad that you're feeling better. Guys in the chat, I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll read through all of the comments afterwards. I'm sure they're all very nice and kind.
Yeah, super cool. It was a cool discussion. Really.
Okay. Patrick, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. And thank you all guys for watching. I mean, we were like 26 to 32 people all the time. It's amazing. I hope you had a good evening.
Yes, so very happy to have everyone here.
Really.
And we'll be back again next week. And tomorrow we have paintovers on this channel. I have to do some paintovers tonight.
And next week, Mike, Nerdrant number 4.
I know. You get 2 weeks off. You just got to watch this time, and you just get to watch next time. Oh, who did we think that through?
Oh, there was a question, Mike. What beer did you have? I had a Aktienzwickel Landbier. It's pretty German, and I had a Warsteiner Brewers Gold.
This very German. You're very. I'm. It's only like 2:00 here, so I'm still the little anomaly from Long Trail is like this little 4% beer, which is like nice for the day because I can get back to work afterwards and actually get things done.
It's Mike's day beer.
It's my lunchtime beer.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all
that I've
Mike.
got.
Thank you for teaching me.
Patrick, thank you for sitting here and keeping me company and indulging my my habits. And folks, thank you guys for being here as well. Very much appreciate it, and we're looking forward to next time.
Thank you.
Awkward time. Do you want to do the boops, or do you want me to?
The what?
We need 2 boops to get us out of here. Have you not watched the end of all of these streams? This is awkward time, and I think we've made it super awkward. All right, guys, we're out. Boop. But then there's another boop, and that's why it's super awkward.
Oh,
Boop.
fuck.